us back into session for deliberations on the SNP staff.
Great. Thank you, commissioners. I'm going to hand off to Al here briefly, but just wanted to echo a couple of things. Number one, that I do think that it was an extraordinarily good public hearing, and that I was very proud of the citizens of Jefferson County for the thought that they gave to their recommendations and comments, the respect which they gave to one another, and witnessed by the fact that many people, even after they testified, stayed to the bitter end, and it was getting late to hear one another. So really proud of the community, and found that the input, I think, will be very useful to the commissioners as you weigh both written and verbal dialogue in your deliberations. And then also just to note, as Al is going to point out, that this is just the beginning of your deliberations, very beginning. Al.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Board. Al Scalf, BCD Director, along with Stacie Hoskins, Planning Manager, and Michelle McConnell, Project Planner. Stacie, as the Planning Manager, has interest in two arenas. One, she's been working on this for the last 3 years from a long-range planning perspective in our development regulations. And then, as you begin to go through this process, and ultimately it's adopted through the county and through the state, she will then move it into the current planning arena, call it Development Review Division or current planning. So in that role, she's the Shoreline Administrator and the SEPA responsible official. So that would be at the project level. Michelle's been diligently, congratulations to Michelle for getting to this point in time.
And surviving.
It's one of the hardest working individuals I've ever seen. Today for you, I have 5 options of deliberations. Now that the Planning Commission version's gone forward in the public arena, the staff has made their recommendation. You conducted the public hearing, and you're now ready to deliberate to the legislative action. Staff can recommend 5 particular options. First of all, I'm going to kick to the left a little bit and say staff recommendation is what's before you is the Planning Commission draft. By statute, by our code, JCC 1845, the document you're reviewing is the Planning Commission draft. Everybody else is commenting, including the department. Second, I advise you to seek legal counsel. It's very serious legal ramifications to our community, coming from the state of Olympia through the legislative body and directing through guidelines and legislative statutory amendments that we shall implement this new Shoreline Management Act locally. Has significant legal consequences, and I do anticipate a legal challenge. On the first option, coming back to the 5 options, we could discuss with you the legal context or construct of, in the middle, the GMA and SMA box, the Growth Management Act Statute 3670A, the Shoreline Management Act Statute 90.58. We could go through that, where it came from, how it got here. We could back up the truck and go to how the Planning Commission was under RCW 3670, and that was started with the department and the director and led up to Growth Management 1990. Or we could even go back under SMA, Shoreline Management Act, and a previous world of Shoreline Advisory Body. We had 2, both were quasi-judicial in the old days. The Planning Commission held permit review, open public record hearings, and issued a decision on quasi-judicial matters, as well as the Shoreline Advisory Board. Ultimately, they were reconstituted in the GMA world, which became kind of the superpower of all legislative land use regulations in 1990. So we've been under the Growth Management Act now for 19 years. SMA predates that, and so does the Planning Enabling Act. And so there's some real murky worlds in there of how it all blended together, specifically the Planning Enabling Act to the Growth Management Act. We could go through that and how the GMA is the power suit, and we have a planning commission, and we have a JCC that directs us how to amend our implementing regulations, 1845 in the back, okay? That's number one. We could start right there, kind of in the context of we're preparing the resolution for adoption. What are the findings of fact? What are the conclusions of law? 30,000 feet, we started here, and we got down to this detail. That's kind of our thoughts of maybe option one, your choice. Two, like the critical areas ordinance, we could go to Article 1, Article 2, Article 3, page by page, pick up your notes, see how it goes, staff interchange with you. Take a look at the public comment letters, take a look at the PC draft, take a look at DCD rec. Okay, that's number two. Number three option, ultimately you're going to have to direct staff to make changes to the Planning Commission final draft in preparation for a local approval. So I'll restate that. Number three option, direct staff to make changes to the PC final draft in preparation for local approval. That would be a motion of the board with the following lists of changes that you recognize through what I call your pick list: public comment letters, PC recommendation, staff recommendation, and other elements of deliberations as you're in the public arena here, and as your thought process brings you to different conclusions of what you've synthesized in reviewing the record. Number four, Q&A session. I bet you got a lot of questions. There's a lot of things been stewing in your mind. Midnight on Saturday, Wooden Boat Festival on the water. Number five, we can always go to number five. Mr. Boucher, why at all? Why now? And why this way? Staff recommends that today you do the Q&A session, number 4, for the period up to noon. You get your stuff on the table, we talk to you, we make a list of the things we don't have the answer for, we answer the things that we do know. Next week, September 21st, we begin that article by article, page by page process with you, like the critical areas. And then that's followed up September 28th with a conclusionary meeting where the board by motion directs staff to make the locally approved document. That's our staff recommendation. Mr. Chairman, staff, any comments?
We did prepare, as you are probably aware, there was quite a flood of comment letters, both prior to the public hearing and after the public hearing itself submitted that evening. And so we have taken just an initial look through all the written comments received and prepared a summary table for you. For the purpose of keeping the Growth Management Act record, thanks. We number every item in the record, and so this is by the document number, which ultimately will have those scanned and available on the web, just like all the previous public comments we've gotten so far on the project. So the roughly 290 comments that have been received between August 19th and September 8th have not yet been scanned to the web, but they will be soon as we can get to that. And I believe that your staff has already provided you comments of everything that's come in. So while the GMA file number on this summary document probably doesn't help with your pile of documents because they don't have our numbering, it'll at least give you a list to quickly go through and get a feel for, who submitted comments, individuals, organizations, et cetera. And then once we have the numbered versions up on the web, we can reference you to that link. You can provide it to you on DVD, whatever is most useful to you. So this is newly prepared for supporting your deliberations.